Habari za mancha. This is your boy, African King Darius. So, as you guys can hear, I've completely kicked my sickness. Yay. At least I kicked that part that was bothering me, which was the sore throat. Now, I actually might have a different thing going on now where I might actually have to get my tonsils removed. I might have to get a tonsillectomy. I mean, my throat isn't as as bad. It's just that has completely gone away, and now I'm still dealing with having issues with, my throat still feel like it's swollen, stuff like that. It's hard for me to eat, all those things. So, in other news, we're getting snow coming soon. Possibly this weekend, we should be getting some snow. And I'm happy about that, because, y'all king loves the snow. I love snow. So, let's get right into it. Habari za mancha to each and every one of you. Your boy, African King Darius, is back with another round of that spoken knowledge that we need to be able to survive this still government shutdown world. It's making it hard for people to get money out here. It's sad, really. And I actually have what I'm hoping will not be a government job coming up soon. I don't even know if I can get it now that the government is still shut down. But I have a job coming up soon that I'm supposed to be getting, working in the hospital. And I don't know if they're even going to be hiring me for that job, with the fact that, most government employees cannot really make much money right now. So, I don't know. I don't know what category that falls under, but they did tell me that it was like a government job, so I don't know what's going to happen. I'll let you guys know by Monday, because that's when they're supposed to be calling me. I don't know. Your boy is hoping he gets it. Got a lot of money riding on this job. Anywho. So let's get right into this knowledge for today, January the 11th of 2019. We're now 11 days into the new year, and still your king is going through the same things. A lot has changed for me, actually, where my attitude towards things has changed, but overall the other people around me are still the same people they've always been. Just because the new year is coming does not mean things are going to change. For some people. Anyway. Just because the new year came, not coming, the new year came, doesn't mean that things are going to change for some people. So, still got a long way to go, people, till we're a far better society. Today, I would like to talk with you guys about delegating authority. Again, I entitled this one, Delegating Authority. Now, most recently in some of my other videos, I've talked about things as far as respect, as far as respecting authority, respecting those in authority. I have talked to you guys a lot about authority and who is responsible for what authority is delegated to who. And today, I would like to talk to you guys about delegating authority. That means being able to understand how to make sure that authority is received by others. Now, I've never talked about this in any of my other videos or rather audios. As I said, I'm still trying to get things together as far as my videos go. I'm going to be returning back to doing videos. Those of you who have seen some of my work and some of my previous ones have seen that my videos are actually far more better received than my audios are. And I'm going to be getting back to doing my videos soon. My audios, they are just being recorded onto my phone and using a regular audio recording program. Have not been able to fine tune it much because there's not much I can do with that program. And until I actually move, I won't be able to do any of that. I should be moving fairly soon, guys. Fairly soon. By March is when I plan on recording my videos again. So, it's the only reason I haven't done them yet. Now, we know that when it comes to delegating authority or making that authority known to others, we have to understand who's the person in charge. First of all, we need to establish who is in authority at that time. When it comes to your children, when it comes to family members, when it comes to anything, we need to understand who's in authority at that time. When it comes to children, a lot of times we have a hard time understanding who's in authority. Grandparents, aunts, uncles, brothers and sisters, all have a hard time understanding who they should listen to. And a lot of times, we're the ones as adults to blame for these children's confusion into showing respect to the people who they should show respect to. For this next couple of minutes, I'm going to give you guys scenarios, and I'm going to break those scenarios down to help you better understand who should be delegating the authority in that situation. Situation number one. Well, in that scenario, because I did say scenario. Scenario number one. Okay. We're going to have two people in this one. David, and as you guys know, I really like these names. Stacy. Okay. I use them a lot in a lot of my examples. So, David has 2 5-year-olds and 1 8-year-old. Okay? Stacy is his wife. Okay? So they're going over to see Stacy's parents. Now, that's the kids' grandparents on Stacy's side of the family. She takes the kids over there. She tells the kids, okay, kids, you guys are not getting any candy. The dad says, don't ask for no candy because you guys are not getting any candy. They go over there to the grandparents' house. They go to Grandma. Grandma, can we have some candy? Grandma says, wait. Did you ask your mom and dad? They said, well, Mommy and Daddy said we can't have no candy. Now, Grandpa is sitting over there in the chair, just mere feet away from Grandma. They go over to Grandpa. Grandpa, can we have some candy? He heard Grandma say, did you ask your mom and dad, can you have some candy? He decides, seeing mom and dad standing right there, he gives the kids some candy anyway. Who is wrong in that situation? And how should authority have been delegated? In that scenario, the person who was wrong was the grandfather. The grandfather should have delegated authority towards the parents and said, wait, you guys need to ask your mom and dad, can you have some candy? You guys heard Grandma. He should have delegated authority first to Grandma and said, Grandma told you you couldn't have no candy. And then Mommy and Daddy told you couldn't have no candy. So y'all not going to come over here and ask me, can you have some candy? He should have delegated authority. and told the kids that they cannot have it. A lot of times, grandparents are pinned up against the parents because the grandparents will cave in and give the kids what they want. And when they cave in and give the kids what they want, a lot of times the kids know they can continue to go to the grandparents because the grandparents aren't going to listen. Instead, they should delegate that authority to the parents and let the parents be the ones to decide that. When you don't give the parents the authority that they deserve and give them the respect that they deserve and understanding that they are the parents, a lot of times the kids develop disrespect. In this scenario, the kids know full well mommy and daddy told them they couldn't have no candy. They didn't care because they knew they can go to their grandmother and their grandfather to get the candy anyway. So they didn't even respect their parents enough to listen and understand that they're not getting any candy. They went to their grandmother and their grandfather and asked for it anyway, though that was disrespectful. So in that scenario, the grandfather should have delegated authority to the grandparents and then to the parents. But instead, no authority was delegated in that situation, and the kids ended up becoming very disrespectful. Scenario number 2. We meet William and Kate. So, Kate is William's friend. Okay? William has a girlfriend. He's been dating this girl for every bit of 2.5 years, and their relationship has become very serious that now he's made her his girlfriend, and they've been together for about 1.5 years. Kate has always been his friend, his female friend. Now, she's had a crush on him for a long time, but never made her move. I see y'all heads already spinning. Y'all know where this is going. So Kate, one day while she's hanging out with William invites his girlfriend. With William's girlfriend right there, Kate grabs William around the arm and lays on his shoulder. His girlfriend looks and says, okay, that's weird. But she is used to it because that's his friend. In that scenario, who was wrong? In that scenario, the person who was wrong was William. He should have delegated that authority and understanding that his girlfriend was present and that he has a girlfriend. I know what you guys were thinking. Kate in that scenario was wrong, but actually Kate was not wrong. If this is something she does normally with a friend and William is okay with that, William is the one who was wrong in that situation. He needs to do the respectful thing and let Kate know I'm in a healthy relationship that I am happy in being in. I need you to show my girlfriend some respect. Do not act that way only because she's around. Kate never made her move because she never was actually that interested in William. Yes, I did state earlier that she liked William. She had a crush on him. Having a crush on somebody and actually loving somebody are two completely different things. She did not have actual feelings towards him as far as boyfriend and girlfriend material. Those emotional feelings of sensuality were not shared between the two, and therefore Kate was wrong for doing this just to try to poke fun at William's girlfriend. Knowing that she would be upset, Kate did it anyway. So the person who was wrong in that scenario was not Kate. It was actually William. He could have prevented it from happening. He should have kindly removed her from him and said, okay, look, you can't do this just because she's around. Stop doing that. Kindly excuse yourself and tell her to stop If she doesn't, then stop being friends with her. Kate had every intention on doing what she was going to do. She already knew she was going to do that, and she had her mind made up to do it. So, yeah. So, scenario number 3. Steve works at a very well-known auto company. There, he is a vice president of operations. He makes sure that everything in his job operates effectively. Today, he just hired a new general manager of that store. Steve was promoted from vice president of operations to vice president of stock holding and shares. That means that now he no longer works at that location. He now works off site, working with the stockholders. One day he comes in and the general manager is assisting a customer. Their 2 customers are very irate and upset because no one assisted them yet. He goes over to the general manager, and he is very upset with the fact that these 2 customers are upset. In that scenario, who was wrong? Or who should have delegated authority? In that scenario, the general manager should have delegated authority to any of the other employees that work at that establishment underneath of him. He should have been the one to let the other workers know, I have 2 customers over here who are waiting to be seen. Please go and see them. A lot of general managers have employees below them that are sales associates or car salesmen. They are the ones who are supposed to help the general manager do his job effectively. In that scenario, the vice president was also in the wrong because there was no need for him to be on site that day. Anytime you're the vice president of shareholders, that means that you are responsible for making sure that the stock of the company stays at a far manageable amount to be able to keep the company afloat. Your job is to pay attention to what the shareholders and all those who are currently buying stock of your company, the amount that they're buying, how much of it they're buying, and how many dividends that you give back. So there was no reason for him to be on site at that store. Instead of wasting his time going over to the general manager to lay the general manager out about his performance, what you do is assist those customers, go over to the general manager, say your hellos, let him know, well, where are one of the associates? And once you say that, let him deal with it and go about your business. The float of that store is solely on the general manager, not on you. Excuse me. So in all three of those scenarios, you were met with different types of ways to delegate authority and who was wrong and what happened when that authority was not delegated to the right people. I would like to focus on each and every one of those separately. Let's start with delegating authority to your children. When it comes to raising children, it is not fairly easy. It takes a village to raise kids. At least that's what one scholar once said. Since it takes a village to raise children, that means that everyone needs to work in tandem with the parents to be able to raise the children effectively. I'm going to use my own personal situations that I've dealt with myself and how you should handle the situation much more properly. In my situation, I have two boys, and my queen and I, we raised the both of these boys together. Each and every one of us, me and her, we delegate authority to each other as to who is going to do what with the kids at what time. The thing that makes this so hard is the fact that at the same time, we have to deal with the fact that their grandparents also want to be in authority when it comes to dealing with the children. We delegate authority to them only when the children are left with them separately away from us. But a lot of times they want that authority delegated to them even though we're present. I've had a lot of situations where the grandparents have overstepped their boundaries and have done more than what they should when it comes to delegating authority towards my kids and letting them understand that me and their mom, we're in charge. So, you're probably like, what do you mean? Okay. One situation that happened was about 3 years ago. Was it 3? No, actually, it was less than that. It was 2 years ago. Let me see. He's 4 now. And, yeah, about 2 years ago. So 2 years ago, because I've been around them for 2 years. 2 years ago, my son was downstairs and I was upstairs and I had told him to come here. He was downstairs with his grandparents and his grandfather, though I told Chris to come here, had told him, he said, no, come here. When I'm talking to you, you come here. Even though Chris had told him, my dad said, come here, he said, but I told you come here. I was thrown off a bit about that because to me, that was in direct defiance towards me as the father of my kids and of my child. Instead of telling my child that you said come here, even though I told him to come here, you let him go and see what his parent wants. Because you want him to always understand that he is supposed to do what his mom and dad says out of respect for them as the parents. You as the grandparent need to delegate authority and tell that child to go see what his mom and dad wants. The thing is, when authority is not delegated properly with grandparents, grandparents tend to get bent out of shape and want to put the blame on the parents as to why the parents make the distinct decision to keep the children out of their lives. Let me say this right now, people, and I'm going to only say this with the kindness that is within my heart as your kind king, which my middle name means. If you cannot work in tandem with the parents in understanding that they are in authority over their kids, you should not be given any type of parental rights over those children at all, period. Not parental, not visitation, not nothing. And the reason I say so is because those children are going to be raised incorrectly. A lot of times, grandparents make the mistake of trying to take over and do the parents' jobs. They'll meet in secret and they'll even do something as disrespectful as to talk about you behind your back. Now, no, you can't change that about them. But at the same time, they can work with you to make sure your children are raised properly by having your children understand you are the one in control right now. Delegate that authority. Another situation that popped up happened most recently. Most recently, I was told, or rather the year after that, my son was getting into wanting to play football. This was last year. And no, this was actually that same year that the other thing happened. So after that incident, another incident followed where my son was being taken out of the house and he was going with him to the store. I had no problem with this. But he was being taken out of the house. And the problem is, each and every one of you know, when your children are taken out of the house, they are a representation of your family. The representation of you, the representation of their sister, their brother, of your entire family. So, should they be taken out of the house looking like whatever? No, they should not. My son was taken out of the house wearing some shorts that did not match, a pajama shirt that didn't match with the shorts, a jacket that didn't match at all, period, no hat, shoes that didn't match his clothes. He was taken out of the house looking ridiculous. Now, this incident happened because his grandfather did not know how to dress him. Now, why is it that he didn't know how to dress him? I'll address that in a moment when I get to my next point. He was taken out of the house looking bad, and people commented on it. As a matter of fact, I was actually asked, which I never brought this up, so you guys are hearing this for the first time. I was actually asked when I was out one day with my wife, my queen. A person stopped me that did see them when they were out. This person asked me, how many kids do y'all have? And I said, we have 2 kids. I said, we have Christopher and Noah. And the person told me, she said, Christopher, was he that child that I saw that was coming out there with their pajamas on and whatnot? She said, I just thought he was just the cutest. Well, he must have been like, 2 years old? I said, no, Christopher is 4. I felt embarrassed because my son looked so bad that he looked young. And the person who had said this said, I couldn't tell, honey. Because he looked like he was dressed like he was every bit of 2 years old. I was upset about it. Because my son looked bad. And even though they were just going to the store, there was no reason for him to look the way that he did. At the time, his grandfather should have asked me, Can you help me find him some clothes? Or can you get him dressed so I can take him to the store with me? Instead, I was sitting down at the table just watching TV, and no one asked me to gather him some clothes at all, period. Because that delegation of authority was not given to me, and because he feels as though he should be able to do whatever he wants with someone else's children, that idea of him being granted the complete access he needs was denied. Now I'm going to get to that point. When you're dealing with grandparents who want to do things their own way when it comes to your children, you have to do the respectful thing, and you have to set those boundaries. If they go over those boundaries, you do have a right as a parent to deny them the access to your children. There is no written law that says that grandparents have rights when it comes to their grandkids. They don't. Dealing with my parents, they believe that they do have some type of rights when it comes to them. I'm going to bring up a situation I know with someone else, and I'm not going to say their real name because this was a serious situation. But there was a friend that I was told about who did have to go through the court system with his own parents. His parents tried to file for custody over his kids because the parents were denied rights to see their grandchildren. The thing is, the judge had already made it up in his mind that custody was going to be granted back to the parents anyway, or that custody was going to be given to the parents anyway. Not his, but the parents of the child. As soon as they came in there, it was now his parents' job, the grandparents' job, to present overwhelming evidence as to why they should be given custody over the kids. It failed. It failed. It failed. The judge granted custody back to the son and his girlfriend, who they were not married at the time, but they were doing an okay job with raising the kids. He had a full-time job. She had a part-time job. Both of them had a place of their own. The kids had food to eat, clothes to change into, and the kids weren't dirty. They granted custody to them, and the parents were put on a visitation schedule. The son, because of how disgusted he was, said to the parents, "This will be your visitation schedule. You'll get to see them twice a month." They were granted to only be able to see them twice a month for 4 hours. The parents got the right to set the schedule because the parents were the parents. The grandparents were so disgusted. They only be able to see their grandchildren for 4 hours, and then they got to send them home. And that's exactly how things transpired. He would drop them off at the grandparents' house. He would go out somewhere with his girlfriend, and they would wait till the 4 hours were up and then come pick them up and then go home. And that's how it had been until the children got old enough to start going over there themselves. Point is, when the kids got older, they stopped going to the grandparents' house. The grandparents would call the parents and ask to see if they could come over, and sadly, the kids didn't want to. But they were old enough to make the decision themselves. The grandparents didn't understand why they didn't want to. The kids lost interest. The parents said they're not doing. They're old enough to make up their own mind now. Of course, the grandparents blame the parents and saying that they filled their heads with lies, but the kids just lost interest in them. It happens. Sadly, it happens. It shouldn't, but it does. Now, please understand, no one is telling grandparents that they don't have a right to see their grandchildren. But at the same time, you do need to show the parents a sense of respect when it comes to their children. If you can't show that respect to them, the children do have a right by law to deny you the right to spend time with your grandchildren. They don't need to allow them to see you. By law, they do have the right to do so. So please don't come squawking at your kids, talking about something, I'm going to fight you for custody and all that other stuff, because you're going to get your feelings hurt when you go into the courtroom. There are statutes placed in every court system that states that the rights are already granted to the parents automatically. The judge already has his mind made up that he's going to find in favor of the parents. You're just coming in there trying to present overwhelming evidence as to why they're bad parents. But you have to be able to defeat these 4 criteria. The kids have to look homely. The kids have to not have food to eat. The house has to be disgusting. And the parents have to be non-caring. If the parents can dress that stuff up directly by the time they get to the courtroom and the kids look okay, the judge will say, I don't believe you. You're just another one of them crazy grandparents that just want to be able to do whatever they want with other people's kids. Denied. And you're not going to get your rights with them. You're going to go home feeling sad, only having a 1-day visitation for 2 hours. Because once that's set in the court, they can set it up to be able to have it where it's only 2 hours of visitation. That's how this country works. Now, I want to look and transition to the other one. And final with that, work hand in hand with the parents to be able to raise the children effectively. Show respect to the parents as far as them being parents of the kids. When the kids begin to act up, delegate the authority towards the parents and have the parents understand it's their job to discipline those kids and to make sure those kids act right. It's their job. You have to be that person that works in tandem with the parents and be able to give that flexibility to be able to make things work. In my situation, dealing with what I was dealing with, this kind of behavior continued on for an additional 2 years. The problem is, from the very jump street, the grandparent actually had no interest, the grandparents had no actual interest in the child from the beginning. They were only doing this as to be targeting towards me because of their discord towards me personally. And I did find that out. But I handled the situation like an adult. What I did was I still allowed them access to their grandchildren, but on a limited basis. As of now, and even as of back then, literally last year, as of last year, they do not get 100% equal access to their grandchildren as my mother does. My mother gets more visitation with them because she delegates the authority appropriately. She shows me and Bria respect when it comes to the children, and she has them understand that they are supposed to do what their parents say. Every time when I come over there, my mother is respectful enough. Go ask your mom. Go ask your dad. Do what they said. Don't talk to your mom and dad like that. She delegates that authority. His other grandparents, my wife's parents, my in-laws, they don't delegate that authority. They have a magnanimous, well, not they, more or less one, and it's just their grandfather, who has a problem with authority. He believes that things are supposed to be done his way, how he says it, when he sees fit, and under the degree in which he says it. And that type of mindset falls onto my son. And as of late, my son has been being a bit disrespectful towards me. And I've had to fix that and get him to understand that just because his grandfather says it, I get final say because I am your father. And you're going to do what I say. You're not going to disrespect me just because your grandfather does it. I had to fix that situation. And to this day, my son does understand that he needs to do what I say, when I say it, how I say it. Until he's 18. It's okay to be flexible with your children and to work with them. You can still allow them to be children while also understanding that an authority of respect needs to be established with them. They need to understand until they're 18 years old that they need to listen to you, that you have their better in mind. If you are the type of parent who puts your children's lives in danger, then you should not be delegated authority. That authority should be delegated towards the grandparents. But in no way, shape, or form should that bond between the parent and the child, if that bond is ever truly fully established, should that ever be broken. Now, onward and upward. When it comes to delegating authority in relationships, you need to understand that relationships are a very powerful bond. Whether it's friendship, boyfriend or girlfriend, husband and wife, or husband and husband, or wife and wife. I'm not going to be disrespectful to those who have same-sex marriages. I don't believe in that. To me, marriage is marriage, period. Whether you're gay, lesbian, it doesn't matter. Marriage is marriage, and it should be for everybody. That's what I believe. Anyway. When it comes to relationships, you need to understand that they are a sacred bond. And nowhere should anybody ever try to disrupt that sacred bond between those two people. Again, I'll use my own personal situations. Since the day that I first met my queen, there has been an all-out attack on our relationship. It's been an all-out attack on us being together as lovers, on us being together as mother and father to our children, and it's been an all-out attack on us being together, period. When I first met her, I was even asked by her father to stop dating her so that way he can have more time with her. But the problem was he was forcing his time even though she did not want to even spend time with him. He was forcing his time and wanted me to stop seeing her so he could have more time with her. I was almost fooled enough to give in, but then I realized that that was not what she wanted, and it would be disrespectful towards her. Instead of asking me to do that, he should have shown a little bit more respect in regards towards me being her boyfriend at the time and said, okay, I'm not going to ask him to ruin his relationship and to be unhappy because she doesn't want to be around me right now. If she doesn't, which she was 20 at the time, if she doesn't, that's on her. She's a grown woman. She can make up her own mind. Because she chose this, it was an all-out attack on our relationship from then on. When we decided to get married, things did not get any better. Now there should have been boundaries established with me being in regards as her husband, and those boundaries have still been crossed, and are still being crossed to this day. With regards with me as her husband, it doesn't matter how often I try to do my job as a husband. It seems that my job always seems to get interrupted or stopped by her father. Now, this is what I mean. Now, this is what I mean. What I mean is, sometimes we do have a tendency to forget that we need to understand when it comes to keeping a marriage sacred, there is a job even the parents have to do. In order to keep their marriage strong, you have to be able to show respect towards the other person, the spouse. That means even if that person is a person you don't like, you still got to show respect towards them. Several situations have popped up with me, and a lot of those situations I had to figure out the correct way to solve those situations, and I feel like I solved them properly. One situation popped up where it was my birthday about a couple years ago, and I was going, this was around when matter of fact, I'll bring that situation up. The first situation that ever popped up was that same year that we got married, and it was around Christmas time. My wife and I wanted to spend some time together on Christmas because it was our first Christmas together as husband and wife. That year, because they have tradition that they always do, they felt as though their tradition shouldn't be interrupted at all, period, because their tradition is tradition that only that she should be doing even until the day she dies off this earth when she's 90 years old and they're over 150. The thing is, she had wanted to spend that year with me because we had just gotten married. We were newlyweds. And there should be nothing wrong with that. So she told them that she wasn't going to the Christmas party. They were upset and they were irate about it. At the time, she was not living at their house. She was living with me. Now, that should have been okay for her to spend that time with me as husband and wife, because if that's what we wanted to do as adults, being we were adults and are adults, some of that were are adults, we should have been given that respect and that regards to be able to do so. But that respect was not given, and I did say so, but they disagreed. So they had bought me something for Christmas, and I was planning on coming down to only open up gifts, because at that time we were supposed to open up gifts, and then her and I were gonna get my mom to take us downtown to go, not downtown, but yeah, take us downtown to go see the lights, because I've never been. My mother has been, and Bria has been, but I've never been. The Queen has been like multiple times, y'all. I haven't been not once. Every time I try to go, something interrupts it. I don't know. Plan on going this year by myself. But eventually, I'm going to go. So, she gets a call from my mother, who is mad and irate that she doesn't want to go to the Christmas party and all that other stuff. And she said, I plan on spending time with my husband. I already had that plan. She had even called and told them in advance that she wasn't going that year. And she didn't go, y'all, by the way. But the point was, there was now a disruption that was developed between us because of that situation. And because that situation was never handled, there was now a divide between us that they keep wanting to try to get over. But the problem about it is, in order to solve that situation, there had to be something given up on their end that they have yet to give up. For example, the only thing that I've been asking for on my end or on their end that I want from them It's basically an apology and admittance of guilt that they know full well they were wrong for what they did that day, and that there was nothing wrong with us spending time together as husband and wife, and that they should have just went ahead and left it alone. Because they have yet to admit that, and because they did not apologize for that day, I have kept things the way that they are, where I'm keeping them away from me and separate from me. Because I don't feel as though anything could be gained from me being close to them. Because literally last year, I spent Christmas alone. Bria was supposed to come down to my mom's house for Christmas dinner, and she didn't. And my mom, because me and Bria did not come down, ended up not really fixing anything for dinner. Matter of fact, food was cooked like around 6 o'clock, and my brother closed the kitchen like around 8 o'clock, and what ended up happening is everybody went to bed like 8, 9 o'clock. And I was left here at the house by myself because nobody was down there for Christmas dinner because she was expecting us. My mom did not get to do the things that she wanted to do, just for her mom to go out and then get stuck in the house because of her anxiety. And lo and behold, that wouldn't have happened had you not gone anywhere. Mind you, that wouldn't have happened had you not gone anywhere. Now, instead, I ended up spending Christmas here by myself for over 4.5 hours, pretty much cleaning up, sitting here looking at TV alone in the house by myself. And this has been behavior that they do towards me, period. And yet they say that they're not trying to be malicious or anything like that. What I don't get is, if she spent Christmas with them last year, what was wrong with her spending Christmas with my mom? If she spent Christmas with them the year before last, what was wrong with her spending Christmas with my mom last year? There was nothing wrong with that. By due rights, and this is a conversation me and my mother had. By due rights, my mother was a bit upset. And what my mom said, she actually did have a right in saying. She said she doesn't understand because this was supposed to be her year with us because they got us last year. And she said that's wrong, that she had prepared and made plans for us to spend time together with her, and yet her plans had to get canceled because someone wanted to be stingy and unfair. And that day, I ended up getting cussed out at because of a choice that they made. Now, tell me how that situation could have gotten solved. That situation could have gotten solved by her mom understanding, go to the Christmas party because you want to go. You don't need somebody to go with you because it's something that y'all always do. Go anyway. Allow her to go down and spend time with the other family. What I don't get is, they're always talking about family, 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 family. But when it comes to my side of the family or my parents, they never want to even be anywhere near them. So far, since the day that her mom has met my mother and even my father, she has gone nowhere near any of them. She hasn't even gone anywhere around them. She hasn't even made an attempt to even go down to my mother's house. But she made an attempt to go to a Christmas party for one of her family members. And to me, that just spells disrespect, because you're the one antagonizing the situation and making the situation worse because you want things to go the way that you want them to go, because you want to carry on your traditions. You don't and are willing to try anything anybody else's way. That's a problem. In that situation, and in those situations, the delegation of authority should have been set. As the husband, I should have been granted my right as a husband to be able to spend time with her. And even though we took that time by force, it shouldn't have came to that. There shouldn't even have been any thought in the back of their mind about carrying on their traditions. If that is something that we want to do together by law because we're adults, we have the right to do so. and they can't tell us otherwise. So understand, show respect towards your child's spouse. That person was chosen by God to be that person's spouse for a reason. Whether you like them or not, show that person some respect. You wouldn't want someone to disrespect your spouse in front of you. Why would you choose to disrespect their spouse in front of them? I've had to deal with numerous situations. Situations that even were as bad as to her being with her dad alone in the car and him talking about me to her instead of coming to me about the issue you have with me. These situations have popped up on numerous times, and I've always been available and even sat in front of him multiple times, but yet nothing was ever said. To me, that's a sign of cowardice. That's a sign of childishness, that you want things to go the way that you want them to, and you're going to do the piteous, most childish way to get it. Even if you don't get it your way, oh well. They're adults. So always remember that when it comes to a marriage, in order to keep that marriage strong, there has to be willingness on all parts. That means not only should the spouse be willing, but their parents should be willing, their family should be willing. If you want to keep that marriage strong, everyone has to play their part in keeping that marriage strong. It is everyone's job to make sure the marriage stays strong. Now, last one. Delegation of authority on the job. Each and every one of us all have a job title. Whether it's a cashier, a head cashier, a supervisor, head supervisor, which the head supervisor you got. The head supervisor, you have the manager, assistant manager, HR manager, manager operations. You have all of these different positions created that are all things to make the business thrive. When that when it's when you don't delegate appropriately to those who things are supposed to be delegated to, when you don't delegate authority appropriately, the thing is, the business doesn't flow properly. And what happened is, you make the business look bad. You really do. You end up losing a lot of respect from other people who work there, and you lose respect from customers. It takes everyone to make sure that the job is done properly. I've had several situations happen with me on the job. Most recently, when I was working at my job, Petco, I was there as a supervisor. And I was a supervisor of the aquarium area. When I first started, the guy, Adam, who was my boss, Adam didn't even work at that store. He worked at the other location. And every now and then, Adam would come into the store and try to tell me how to do my job. Granted, Adam was my boss. I was put under someone else that was there at the store who I was supposed to listen to. And even though Adam was no longer my boss, now that I was working underneath that other person, he would still come in and try to tell me how to do my job. So I told Adam, I said, with all due respect, I'm supervisor here at this location. You work at a different location. You're no longer my boss. So since you're no longer my boss, please stop trying to tell me how to do my job. So far, everyone else finds what I'm doing fine. I feel like you're nitpicking with me, and I need you to kindly stop. Adam continued to do it, and I went over his head to corporate and got him fired. Now, I had to end up doing that because Adam was relentless on telling me how to do my job, even though he was no longer my boss. Adam ended up getting fired. I had such a bad experience with the company that I decided to leave, and I went back to school. Now, things wouldn't have gotten that bad had Adam not done what he had done. And as much as he was wrong in that situation, I feel like I did the appropriate thing by going over his head and going to corporate. My situation might not work out as fairly as it did, and it might not work out like that for you, but sometimes you got to go over people's head and do the appropriate things. So let's recap. When it comes to delegating authority with children, always, always, always understand. And you're not just doing this for yourself. You're doing this so those children will understand who is in authority over them. It teaches them respect. Not only will they show respect to people in the workforce, but they will show respect to their teachers. They'll show respect to their coaches. They'll show respect to their peers. It's going to teach them the right things to do. A lot of times when kids aren't taught that role of respect, a lot of them end up on the streets becoming drug dealers, drug addicts, prostitutes. They end up doing a lot of bad things, all because these kids have no respect for anybody. They weren't taught respect, and until they're taught respect, they're going to continue to do what they do. We want to clean up these streets. It starts with us. Number 2, show respect to that person within that relationship. Even if you're a friend, a parent, just a coworker, always show respect to that person's relationship. Do not disrespect that person's relationship. If that person is a husband or a wife, show them respect as far as them being the husband and wife of that person. Granted, that's your child, but at the end of the day, now they're an adult. And because they're an adult and they're married, they are now under the tutorship and under the protection of that other person. That means that no longer do you get say as far as their life goes. Their life is now in their hands and in the hands of their spouse. And by law, even by God's law, you have to yield and allow that person to do their job. Don't be the person to stand in the way and to take that person's job away from them and knowing no one did the same thing to you. Always remind yourself, what would I do if the same thing were done to me? Number 3, show respect towards other people's job titles. If that person is a supervisor, a general manager, a CEO of the business, and you work some other location or you're a title below them, show them respect as far as their title of work goes. A lot of times we have a tendency to not do so, and people end up losing a lot of respect for those in authority in those work positions. You lose respect for your managers, you lose respect for anyone else who works those type of positions because of the simple fact that others look down upon them. Again, thank you guys for taking time right now out of your day. I hope this knowledge will help someone understand how to delegate authority appropriately. We all can live a happier, much better life. Even though the government is shut down right now, we can still have happiness in this world. There is still goodness in this world. Just because things are dark right now, like they say, things are darkest before they're bright. And we just need to keep pressing forward.